1380 KCIM Sports presents KCIM Sports Rewind. A look back at the week in high school sports, brought to you by St. Anthony Rehab Services. Here's Sports Director Jeff Blankman, John Ryan, and Jeff Honnold.
It is KCIM Sports Rewind. Now, first of all, we have a little confession to make. This was all recorded on Monday.
You're going to let everybody know?
I'm just going to blurt that out because we're going to talk about Iowa and Iowa State here a little bit on the show. The rumors are flying right now as of recording time here about Brian Ferentz, the offensive coordinator for Iowa State, or for Iowa, excuse me. Casey, tell us what you got, what you heard.
I know that listening from sources that are close with the Iowa program and guys that write for Iowa, that Brian Ferentz is probably mutually parting ways with Iowa at the end of the year. At first it came out this morning when I read it that it was right away, and then they weren't sure if it was right away or if it was at the end of the year, but right before I came in, one of the guys that writes for Iowa put out that they were parting ways at the end of the season.
Now, there's supposed to be a press conference on Monday afternoon to kind of announce that. Not shocking. I mean, all of the milestones and markers they put out, none of that's going to happen this year.
No. And John, I think you just made every Iowa State fan cringe for a moment when you called him the Iowa State, because they're like, no, don't hire him.
Yeah, that's the last thing I think. Where does he go from here?
Maybe back to the Patriots and Bill Belichick, who's probably going to be done in the next year or two anyway.
Be a position coach somewhere?
Yeah.
Now, what I was thinking is that I think Brian's a good position coach.
Yes.
When Iowa's offensive lines were really good, it was when Brian had to focus just on offensive line and not have responsibility for the quarterbacks, the offensive coordinator. I wouldn't be surprised if he steps down from offensive coordinator and just returns as a position coach.
Yeah.
That would make a lot of sense.
It would. It would keep him on the staff with Kirk and probably make everybody happy.
Yeah. Does he just stay at Iowa to be that offensive line coach?
Or does he go somewhere else? Because I agree with you. I think he's a really good offensive line coach. He's an arrogant offensive line coach, but part of that's because he's a good offensive line coach.
They got a lot of offensive linemen in the NFL right now. So I guess he has that to hang his hat on. So Iowa, we'll find out if that's true or not. Again, we're recording this on Monday afternoon. So we don't know what went on at that press conference. We're just kind of speculating on all this. So if we can't take some random stab in the dark, what are we doing here? Come on. I mean, let's face it. I got a question for you. Okay, so Iowa State's rolling right now. Tied for first place in the Big 12. Who'd have thought that after Ohio? If Iowa State were to play Iowa again, what would be the outcome?
Iowa State wins.
I think they would. Yeah. I think it might turn out to be exactly the same way. I'd like that Iowa wins that game because that defense is that good.
But the offense is so bad now, and Iowa State's offense is better.
Yeah, but that defense is so good for Iowa.
I know. That's why I tell every Iowa fan that keeps telling me that Nebraska's going to beat them, I say your guys' defense and special teams is going to give you a chance to win them all. Don't complain. They're trying to protect themselves. So if Nebraska does win at the end of the year, that I won't give them a hard time. I don't give anybody a hard time anyway. It's not who I am. But they're just trying to protect themselves in case it happens. Honnold.
I'm going to flip sides. I think Iowa State wins. Yeah, just because their offense is playing better. Yeah. And they moved the ball in Iowa's defense anyways during the game. Yeah. And so with an offense playing better, I think Iowa State wins because they are on a roll right now.
They're on a roll, but the reason I ask that is because how good is the Big 12? We always bag on the Big 10 West. How good is the Big 12 actually? Oklahoma got beat by Kansas. Kansas is looking like a good team, but comparative to everybody else, it's like you can go. Iowa can go play Illinois and look like world beaters, maybe. Yeah. And who knows?
I don't think the Big 12 gets anybody into the playoffs this year.
Oklahoma and Texas are not what everybody thought they were.
I'm going to say this, and this might be biased, but I think if Texas wins out and wins the Big 12, they get in, just because their lone loss would be to Oklahoma.
Right, but it'll depend if Oklahoma loses another one or two. That hurts, but
And the way things are going right now, they're going to have another loss, probably, the way that everybody's playing in the Big 12. Oklahoma State, who everybody thought was going to be the doormat, is now tied for first place along with Iowa State.
Right, and they're not real good. So it's kind of like the Big 10 West. I mean, you got four not real great football teams all tied for first place right now.
4 years ago, the marquee matchup in the Big 12 would not be Kansas at Iowa State. And that's what we got this weekend. Yes. I mean, it's going to be a great game.
Everybody's going to pay attention to that game this weekend because if Iowa State, here's the weird thing about the Big 12 And now that they have, 14 teams, 15, something like that in there with the addition of the new schools, not everybody plays each other.
Right.
Like in years past, everybody played each other, so you know for sure you got the two best teams.
Yep.
To go in the championship game. Like what I was telling Will, my brother, is that if Texas loses to Kansas State, we're probably out of the race, because that would be our second loss, and we don't play anybody else so that would be above us, like an Oklahoma State or a West Virginia, the rest of the year.
Right.
Yeah, you don't have any good quality wins coming up on your schedule then at that point. Yeah, that's an interesting point right there.
And tip your cap real quick here. Tip your cap to Matt Campbell. Offense horrible early in the year.
Oh, yeah.
They realized that they needed to do something different and open things up, and something that one of the other schools in the state hasn't figured out yet. But, now look at them. Their offense was just as bad as the Black and Gold's offense early in the year, and now it's much, much better.
And it's a young team, too. I mean, that's the crazy part about it, how they got those guys to buy in and play that well together. I mean, it all of a sudden came together after that Ohio loss. So,
and for all you Iowa fans out there that think I'm picking on your Hawkeyes, I am a little bit, but at the same time, the Nebraska offense, not really any better than yours. We turned it over 5 times on Saturday. Luckily, our defense is pretty good this year. So,
who'd you guys play?
We played Purdue.
Oh, the always stout Purdue.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So anyway, you also had a chance to catch up with Blaze Gunnarsson, by the way.
I did. So there's an audio interview. I only got about maybe 4.5 minutes with him or whatever, but I got a chance to catch up with him after the game and stuff. So it was a fun conversation. Talked to him off record longer than what I talked to him on record, of course. So.
All right. So all right, we'll do a trivia question here. We'll even do this one. Which team has the most wins by 20 points this year in the NFL?
Okay.
They've won their most games by 20 points this season. I'll even give you the multiple choice.
Okay.
The Baltimore Ravens, the Buffalo Bills, the San Francisco 49ers, or the Dallas Cowboys?
I'm going to say Dallas.
You're going to say Dallas? What are you saying, Casey? By the way, spoiler alert, I can't stand Dallas. I can't they could go 0-16, 0-17 and still not be bad enough for me.
I know that feeling.
Just based off of how teams are playing, they want me to say San Francisco, but San Francisco's lost 3 straight now. And so, I like Buffalo. Besides
Buffalo?
Besides losing that Week 1 game, I think they've played really, really well this year.
For me, it was either Dallas. My second choice would have been the first team you said that I can't even remember.
Baltimore.
Now. Baltimore, there you go.
We'll find out later in the program about that. So we're here to announce the All Rewind teams coming up. Now, again, remind us the All-Star festivities this weekend.
Yeah, this Saturday. Doors will open at about 12:45 out of the Carroll High School gym. We'll get the event underway right around at 1 o'clock. We're going to have a senior girls All-Star game for volleyball. The senior boys football players are also going to play an All-Star volleyball game. We're probably going to have to do maybe 2 or 3 different setups of that.
Because everybody wants to play the other sports.
Yes.
That's what kills me.
We have 30-some senior football boys that might be playing in this, so we're probably going to have to keep rotating kids through. We're also going to have a passing competition, football passing. So Austin Stolk built us this thing last year where the kids are going to have to throw a football through it. We're going to do both the football boys and the volleyball girls having to do that competition. Then we'll have the award ceremony. Everything should be done around 4 o'clock. Free event again. And yes, folks, it is open to the public. So mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, brothers, and sisters are just fans of high school sports. Come on out and enjoy it. We're going to have about 125 kids and coaches that are going to be there probably on Saturday.
Austin, outstanding coach and carpenter, too.
Yes. Yeah, he does a really good job.
Yeah. So thanks to him for that. All right, let's get to our All Rewind volleyball team. And again, we're going to start with the honorable mentions, and we'll just take this. Each one will take a school. Okay. So I'll bring you the IKM Manning kids that have made honorable mention in volleyball. Megan Williams, Grace Carroll, Carly Arp, and Ella Richards.
I will do Coon Rapids Baird that we got on here. Malia Clayberg, Anna Hart, and then Aubrey Hoffbauer.
All right, I'll do the Audubon Wheelers, Anna Larson, and Michelle Brooks.
Why did you guys have to go out of order?
Casey started it. I jumped back into order.
All right, I'm going to put us back in line here. Glidden Ralston, Lauren Clucky, and Summer Toms.
Our Weeva would be Delaney Shirkey.
From East Sac County, Jen Ashinger and Kendall Quirk.
And from the Carroll Tigers, it's Riley Noggle, Amanda Wardell, and Molly Feld. So let's talk about the third team here, and Casey, we'll pick it up with you.
Third team starting it off, Olivia Rowetter from Carroll, Molly Monahan, and also Alexa Holland from South Central Calhoun, East Sac County, Kenna Meyer, and then Kemper Carson's Overmole. And then Glidden Ralston has 3 on the third team, Addie Bell, Lauren Holzling, and then Ashlyn Tigas.
Second team, Jeff will do.
I'll take second team here. Bunch of Kemper Knights, 4 of them. Casey Peter, Lauren Bell, Aubrey Houghton, and Elsa Tiefenthaler. From the Audubon Wheelers, Harlow Miller. From East Sac County, Addison Ealer. From South Central Calhoun, Nora Redazel. And from the Glidden Ralston Wildcats, Tyler Jansen.
All right, let's do the first team here. All rewind team. I will start with the Audubon Wheelers. 2 members on the first team. That is Addie Hooker and Maddie Nielsen.
We'll start off with Addie. What a terrific season that she had. Great setter, really good hands. Had to move over to her hitter for a little while when they lost Maddie Nielsen for a portion of the season. Had a great career, but this year just took her game to a complete another level and had a fantastic season. And then Maddie Nielsen, I don't think there's anything this young lady can't do out on the volleyball floor. She's special and doesn't sound like she's going to go on and play anywhere, but she could certainly go to a lot of different places and play volleyball. She's really, really special.
Yeah, I know when we were talking about, we were sitting here Sunday night and talking with everything. Where me, you, and Nick all had both of these girls unanimously on our first team. That's just how great they have had in a while. And I think we were talking. This is the first time Audubon's had a winning record in probably since they went to the state tournament.
I think 2014 when they went to the state tournament. So yeah,
all right, outstanding year for the Audubon Wheelers. From South Central Calhoun, it's J.C. Gravy and Brenna McAllister.
J.C. Gravy, you want to start off, was a first team setter last year. Now makes first team as a hitter, led them in kills so far this year, so she transitioned fantastically from that setter to that hitter spot. And then Brenda just played all over the court this year for South Central Calhoun. And I think that her numbers probably aren't quite hitting-wise as what JC's are, but it seemed like 1 week, JC was leading the pack, and then the next week Brenda would have a great week. So South Central Calhoun had a great deal of hitters so far this year, and both of those girls are juniors, so they'll be back next year.
Yeah, absolutely. JC ranked, I think, 13th in Class 2A in the state in kills in her first year as being an outside hitter, and then Brenda in the top 10 in 4 different categories. So we'll move on. John, go ahead.
Next member of the all-first rewind team is Kate Vondrack of East Sac County.
And Kate, what a player she is. I think she could be a D1 player if that's where she decides to go. Has been a terrific hitter for them and can play back row. But this year they moved her into a setter role because that's what it looks like she's probably going to play in college. And she performed flawlessly as the setter, led them in almost every category this season. Not in every category, but almost in every category she led them this year.
I think you just speak about how great she's played. She plays all over the court, like you just mentioned. They ran a 6-2, so Sid Barrett and then also Kate. But a lot of the times Kate wasn't traditionally the starting setter out there. Right. She was always kind of just out there, but most of the time she was the one setting the volleyball, also would attack from the outside as well as playing that back row. She did great serving this year as well for the Raiders, so kind of an all-around player for East Sac County. And no surprise, 3 members of the Kemper Knights on the first team, all rewind team. They include Franny Glenn, Kaylee Simons, and Brianna Wittrock. Brianna Wittrock, going to start with her. Somebody we didn't originally have on the first team, but when you go back and the three Jeff did, the 3 of us were sitting here talking on Sunday night, and we're just looking at her overall numbers, over 100 blocks in the season, was I think 4th on the team in kills, 2nd on the team in aces, and then also 2nd on the team in digs. And so just all around
the team in blocks.
And all around her numbers were just fantastic, only as a sophomore. And then I'll jump to Kaylee Simons, probably one of the best liberos in the area, well, obviously based on our teams.
I've nicknamed her Lexi Rodriguez. That tells you what I think.
She is fantastic as a sophomore back there at the libero position for the Kemper Knights. And then Franny Glenn, terrific career as a Kemper Knight. Led the team in kills this year, 2nd in blocks. Was probably their primary go-to hitter that they fed a lot. And, great deserving for those 3 to be first team.
I second pretty much everything that Casey said. They're just 3 special kids, 3 special players. Franny was dominant all year. Kaylee, I don't know if you find much better in the back row than her, and Brianna was just so good all the way around. And I do have to say this before we move on to the player of the year and the team of the year. We did kind of joke last night when we all got together and we're like, okay, is the first team, is it just Kemper's starting lineup? lineup.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how good that starting lineup is.
Yeah, again, 3 members there, and we had 4 members on the second team there. Yep. So let's talk Player of the Year. There's a number that were in contention. I mean, check out these 4 names that were up for Player of the Year. J.C. Gravy from South Central Calhoun, Franny Glenn from Kemper, Kate Vondrack of East Sac County, but the Player of the Year, Maddie Nielsen of Audubon. So tell me, what set Maddie apart for Player of the Year?
She's been great her whole career and has just gotten better, but I just thought this year what she did for the Wheelers and how special of a season she had was what it was. It was not an easy choice. I think we discussed this for quite some time last night, and we all kind of had an opinion, and I think we came to the conclusion that we all felt the year Maddie put together was just slightly better than what some of the other girls. And I mean, all 4 of those are deserving kids to get votes.
And I think we speak back to how important Maddie was to the Audubon Wheelers because she missed a tournament early in the year and they had to move Addie to an outside hitter. Audubon didn't play very well that tournament. Right. And it just seemed like every night when we were typing up volleyball, Maddie was going for 15 to 20 kills. You know, she had quite a few digs as well. I think just the season she put together was really special.
Not just a great hitter, but she is special in the back row. She could be, if she didn't want to be a hitter in college, she could be a libero somewhere.
Wow. They're outstanding stuff there. How about let's talk Coach of the Year. Again, a number of coaches in contention for this one from Audubon, Brandy Grun, also Emma Schleisman from South Central Calhoun, Krista Bunt from Glidden Ralston, Brandon Steiger from East Sac County. Jeff Honnold voted for himself, so we threw that out. But the Coach of the Year, got to be Rusty Wintermode of Kemper. I mean, that was pretty easy.
Yeah, it was, and not that the other candidates weren't all deserving of being on that list. And we did talk about all of them, but with what Rusty's been able to do in that staff and those kids now for this season and even last year, I think he was our defending Coach of the Year. But yeah, he's fun, a special guy. And then what do you say? Brandon Steiger, first year, kind of gets ESAC back to where we're used to. Krista Bunt continues to do a great job over at Glidden. Emma Schleichman in her first year, I think she's going to put together a special program at South Central Calhoun. And Brandy Grun had taken a year off because she had a little one during last season. Comes back this year and leads Audubon to the best record they had in the most wins since they made state in 2014. So,
it's one thing to have a great team and make the state. It's another thing to have those expectations, that pressure on you entering the season, and to follow that up.
Yes, yeah, and that's what Kemper was able to do. They've gotten to where they were supposed to, and they did it in a really tough league, and they did it in. After starting 1 and 2 over there at that tournament in Nevada, and everybody was panicking. Well, they weren't panicking because they knew how good they were.
Yeah, I remember everybody. Oh my! They lost 2? What?
Yeah, they lost to 2 highly ranked teams in bigger class. Well, not bigger classes. Dyke New Hartford's just the best team in the state of Iowa, no matter what class.
All right. So again, coverage for the state volleyball tournament. It begins today, of course, as this is airing today. And again, we're recording this on Monday afternoon. But you mentioned something crazy about the 2A field.
Yeah, 5 of the 8 teams in the 2A field are all from the North Iowa Cedar League, and there's
how does that happen?
The state does a really good job of separating good teams. You had 5 teams ranked at 6, actually 6 if you count Union, who's in Class 3A. But so there's 6 teams out of that conference that made the state tournament. 5 of them are in Class 2A. Hopefully it doesn't happen this way, but there's a legitimate chance that with 5 teams and you get 2 playing each other, so you're guaranteed 1, but you could have an all semifinal and all final all out of the North Iowa Cedar League. I don't think it happens, but there is that possibility that you have the 4 finalists out of one conference, which would guarantee you the 2 championship teams out of that same conference.
I think it's crazy. Yeah, I think of this. I look back to this and comparable to me. Like, what was it, a couple years ago, the Raccoon River Conference in softball? All teams were ranked within the top 10 besides Carroll. Yep. Like that just kind of speaks to how good that conference is. And that's kind of what I compare it to, how dominant that conference was this year in volleyball.
Yeah. Well, and Dyke New Hartford 1 set loss, not a match loss. They dropped 1 set this year, and it's to number 1 Dowling in Class 5A. They beat them in the match, but dropped a set.
Dropped a set. Now, when you mentioned softball, I mean, around Des Moines, you've got a lot of practice facilities, things like that. We're talking northeast Iowa here.
Cedar Falls.
It was around Cedar Falls. But, I mean, are they that big into volleyball up there?
They are.
Are they?
Yeah, there's a lot of really good clubs and travel teams, and you got elite coaches. I mean, It's something that Coach Harms has been at Dyke New Hartford winning state championships, on a regular basis for 20-some, 30 years. They have great coaches up there, and they buy into it. And they're not just good. This is where I'm going to get on to preach for a second. They're not just good in volleyball, but Dyke New Hartford's an elite basketball program. Appleton Parkersburg's an elite basketball program. I get frustrated when I hear people say you can't win in both sports. You can if you have coaches that want to share players, and you have coaches and ADs that buy into having the best athletes out for everything. Yeah,
AP's just known for great athletic programs there. So handicap it for us, both of you guys. Kemper Grundy Center.
I like Kemper's chances here.
They're the 6 seed. Grundy Center's the 3.
Yep, there's a Willis girl that plays the coach's kid from Grundy Center who's got 613 kills. She leads the state in kills for Class 2A. She's really good, and they're going to keep feeding her. So they're going to keep feeding the outside. But the Knights have been a better blocking team than them this year, and I think that's going to give them a chance. If they can get some touches and blocks, if they can handle the serve receive and win that serve-receive battle, they've got a chance in here. It's not going to be easy. I could see this going 5.
I think if Kemper can block at the net well with Franny Glenn and Brandon Wittrock, and then also spread out their attacks, because they have 4 girls that they can consistently feed the ball to. If they can spread out and keep Grundy Center's defense guessing, I think they got a decent shot.
Yep.
All right, so there you go. Game time tomorrow's 4 o'clock pregame on Kick 106.7. First serves 4:30-ish.
4:25-ish, somewhere in there. Yep.
All right, so Kemper going to take on Grundy Center coming up tomorrow from the state volleyball tournament. We'll have more KCIM Sports Rewind coming up.
As the athletes at your house prepare for hard work and fun of the season, remember that St. Anthony Rehab Services provides physical therapy for any sports injury that may sideline your member of the team. Sports injuries can plague kids of all ages and keep them from playing the sport they love. Athletes will be under the direct supervision of a certified and licensed healthcare professional in the newly renovated sports performance facility. If an injury is keeping your athlete out of the game, call St. Anthony Rehabilitation Services at 794-5000 for sports injury and treatment rehab.
Welcome back. KCIM Sports Rewind, brought to you exclusively by St. Anthony Sports Performance Program. You want to get involved in a great program to get you in shape? Talk to those guys. They will kick your rear end back into shape in no time. So call the great folks at St. Anthony Rehab Services.
We should do a challenge between the 3 of us.
No, we should not. Maybe you guys can do that. I want no part of Steve Schabel and, telling me to do whatever. So.
As long as he owes me to no more than 1 push-up, I'm okay.
And it doesn't have to be a good push-up.
Yeah,
that's what I want to do. All right, so we're going to talk the all-rewind football team here. Now, we're going to have honorable mention. We're going to have kind of a quick third team.
Yep.
But a full second and first team coming up here. Then we'll name our offensive player of the year and defensive player of the year plus coach of the year. So we got a lot to get to in a short amount of time. So I'm going to start here with the honorable mention. I'm going to start with South Central Calhoun, a couple of members there, Zach Trott and Cole Higgins.
From IKM Manning, Davis Rasmussen, and then Elaine Sams.
From the Carroll Tigers, Tate Schleichman, Edric Heisterkamp, Kieran Polking, Logan Menken, and Noah Henners.
From the Kemper Knights, it's Bryce Wiskus and Kyle Sundrup.
From Coon Rapids Bayard, Caden Oswald, Colby Culbertson, Eli Booth, and then Mason Abetz.
And from the Audubon Wheelers, Edward Miller.
Couple of members of the East Sac County Raiders in Brett Thayer and Sam Julin. Now that rounds out our honorable mention. Let's run over to the third team here and explain the third team to us, why we don't have a full team here.
So we didn't have enough kids really to do a full, 11 kids on offense, 11 kids on defense, but these were the kids that we felt in a way probably deserved a little bit more recognition than maybe honorable mention. So we went ahead and kind of filled up what we could with an 11-man, or with the kids that we thought should move up. So.
All right, so the linebackers, we'll just break it down by position here. The linebackers that made third team, Jake Earlbeck from Kemper, also Devin Ehlers from Arweva, Carroll's Quentin Polking, and Naylan Gulbranson from South Central Calhoun.
All right, I'll take the offensive lineman, and there was one, Emmett Newman from the Arweva Rockets.
I will do the running backs, and then I think we just had one, Emmett Snyder from Glidden Ralston, excuse me.
And a return specialist from Kemper, Carson Canny.
I'll take defensive backs, Jonathan Rieselman of the Arweva Rockets, and also Lucas Christian of the Glidden Ralston Wildcats.
And then the lone defensive end on the third team, Eli Jorgensen of Audubon.
All right, let's move on to the...
And quarterback Colby Wallace of Glidden Ralston.
I knew I would miss one. I knew I would miss one. I knew I was asking for trouble when I said let's do it by position.
I was surprised you did my position, yes. Because I literally typed them up by school for you.
I know. Trying to keep me straight, and it doesn't work. Let's move on to the second team. I'll take the punter. That is Gavin Batta of South Central Calhoun.
I will jump to the defensive backs. It's Charlie Veit, Wyatt Regallard, and then also Jake Hausman of Kemper.
You bet. So Charlie, of course, of ESAC, and Wyatt Regallard of Arweva. I'll take the linebackers. We were so deep in this position this year. Nolan Kirchhoff and Ben Ramsey, both of ICAM Manning. Wyatt Oswald of Coon Rapids Bayard. Kent Sanders from Kemper, and Alex Daniel from Glidden Ralston.
The defensive line second team from East Sac County, it's William Smith. From the Audubon Wheelers, Gabe Jensen. And from Glidden Ralston, Waylon Hine. Let's move on to the second team offense now. I'll take the kicker here from the Kemper Knights. That is Tommy Fitzsimmons, second team.
Second team offensive line from Glidden Ralston, Wade Hunter, ICAM Manning's Nolan Kirchhoff, and Jace Starman, and then Sean Whitruck of Kemper, then Caleb Vanderheiden of Carroll.
For the wide receivers, Chase Regaller of Carroll, DJ Vanami of Kemper, and Cal Hayden of Coon Rapids Bayard.
Second team running backs include Brock Natras from South Central Calhoun and Ben Langle of ICAM Manning.
Second team quarterback from Arweva, Blaine Smith, something we went back and forth on quite a bit on Sunday.
Yeah, people don't realize the amount of time we spend discussing each of these kids to figure out where they go.
Yeah. All right, we're moving on to the first team here, and we'll talk a little bit about these folks. How about punter from Kemper? Special teams, great part of the Kemper season this season, Ben Gherkin.
Well, what I'm going to do, John, so we don't have to talk about him twice, he's also going to be a first team defensive back, so he's on that list twice. Great punter, led all of our punters in punting this year. He's not just a guy that can kick it far. He's really good at pinning people and kind of angling things, so he controls his punt very well. And then a defensive back, teams they learned as the season went on not to try and pick on Ben Gherkin because he was such a good cover guy that they kind of went away from him a lot of times.
Well, we'll start with the defensive backs. Braden Burns of East Sac County, and then Ben Gherkin of Kemper, like we just mentioned, then Aaron Olson of Audubon. What a season Aaron Olson had as a safety. The second leading tackler on the Wheelers, also led all area kids in interceptions with 6 this year.
We'll move on now to linebackers again. Tate Barrett from the Kemper Knights, just an outstanding year, was always in the backfield making tackles for loss and sacks, just so quick through the line. Carter Ludwig led our area with 84 tackles, I think it was, and 70 of those were solo, leading what was probably the best defense that we had from East Sac County. Luke Warnemont right there with him from East Sac County, and again, just making plays all over the field. A guy that's a dominant force, no matter if you put him linebacker or defensive end. Austin Christensen down at Audubon, he is a special player. And then Wade Regaller, a great player as well over at Arweva, one of those guys that can cover. He had 4 interceptions, I think, this year, and also can tackle, and he's physical for the Arweva Rockets.
All right, the first team defensive line, and we have got from the Arweva Rockets, Tyson Von Glahn. From the Kemper Knights, Will Simons. And from Glidden Ralston, Mark Lynch.
I'll take Tyson. I saw them early this year against Glidden Ralston, and it didn't matter which game it was. He just chews up everything up front. He is just I mean this in the best way. He is just a man. He just absolutely is dominant up front.
Mark Lynch led the Glidden Ralston Wildcats, I think, in tackles for loss with 18, had 33 in the season, so over half of his tackles were tackles for loss for the Wildcats this year.
And for Will Simons, one of your jobs, he's got a lot of tackles, so not saying he doesn't, but one of your jobs is to chew up the blocks so your linebackers can make play. Kemper's linebackers are really, really good, and part of that is because they're not having to get blocked because Will Simons is eating up blocks.
Yeah, you gotta take up the blockers so they don't get to your linebackers, so they can make the plays there. So that rounds out our first team. Let's move on to the first team offense right now, and from the East Sac County Raiders, as kicker, Luke Wright.
When you win games off of one guy's leg several times and he's kicking 47 to 49 yarders on a regular basis.
Not too shabby.
Yeah, not too shabby. Luke, special year kicking the football, that's for sure.
I had the privilege to cover East Sac County for week 1, and he made 4 field goals, and all of them would have been good for 50.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, kicked a 49-yarder in the game I did and probably would have made it from 59. So.
All right, Casey, offensive line.
From Glidden Ralston to Charles Schoen, Audubon Wheelers have 2, and a Logan Schmidt and a Colton Hansen. Coon Rapids Bayard's Tyler Moore, then also Kemper's Hayden Vanami. Going to start with both Schmidt and Hansen from Audubon. I think that when you saw Audubon run the football this year was kind of to that right side. Hansen was the center. Schmidt pretty much played the right guard. Both of those played really, really well this year for Audubon.
And Glidden Ralston, part of the reason why you saw them get so much better this year, and especially with the run game, Charles Schoen just that good up front.
All right, from the, I guess it's yours. It's wide receiver time.
All right, go ahead.
Ikea Manning from the wide receivers, Ross Kusel, and then also Michael Kaspar from Kemper, and then Keegan Sword from South Central Calhoun.
Yeah, 3 special guys. Ross Kusel had the most catches out of all of the wide receivers in our area. A guy that was a quarterback in the past is going to probably play college wide receiver or tight end. Michael Kaspar just explosive for Kemper, and Keegan Sword kind of does it all a little bit in the pass game for South Central Calhoun. They was expected to have a big year and had it.
All right, let's talk running backs here. From the Audubon Wheelers, Evan Alt, and from the Arweva Rockets, Wyatt Regaler at starting running back.
I'll say this about Evan. Early in the season, wasn't getting a lot of touches against Xyra Elkhorn Kimball. He goes off for like 300 yards rushing, and after that, he just had big game after big game after big game.
I remember Casey saying it was more like a Madden football stats.
Yes, yes, yeah. Wyatt Regaler, about as special of an athlete once you get the ball in his hands as what you're going to have in this area.
Yeah, led them in rushing and receiving this year. And I think as we went halfway when Arweva was undefeated at 4-0 this season, I looked at stats, and Wyatt Regaler was first in the state in all-purpose yards. I don't know where he finished at the end of the year, but I would expect him to be well within the top 10 of all-purpose yards backs.
All right, starting quarterback. You don't play in November. You don't play high school November football unless you got a good quarterback, and that's Brock Bading of the Kemper Knights.
And the funny story about him, didn't start the first game, didn't start the second game at quarterback, and then once he got in there, he just found a relationship with those receivers, and he's so accurate. We were talking about the deep ball. 90% of the time, he's dropping it right where the receiver is the only one that can make the catch, and they catch it on the dead run. So it's pretty special watching him throw.
And he looked comfortable back there as well from the pocket. I don't think any game that he played in this year, he really looked scared or hesitant. You know, He was on the money with his throws. I think every game that I saw him play.
By the way, we've just been talking about all these players, and I'm gonna throw out a huge shout out to Jeff and Casey here. Nothing written down. This is all off the top of your head. I am impressed beyond belief. I don't remember what I had for lunch yesterday, so there's no way.
Well, Casey and I joked last night when we sit up and type stories on all of these teams and all these things every night. A lot of these things just kind of start to stick in the brain.
I bet it does. All right, let's talk Defensive Player of the Year. A number of candidates in contention for this one, including Aaron Olson from Audubon, Tyson Von Glahn of Arweva, Austin Christensen of Audubon, and Tate Barrett from Kemper. But the Defensive Player of the Year hails from the East Sac County Raiders. That is Carter Ludwig.
Yeah, special year for him. Just makes plays all over the field. Maybe didn't have a ton of sacks this year, but we talked that district not one that throws a lot. So he's just such a great run stopper. And 87, if I remember right, tackles on the year. He had more solo tackles almost than what everybody else had total tackles on the year.
Just a special year for Carter Ludwig, a kid that's been a 4-year starter at linebacker for the Raiders, played on the best defense we probably had in the area. And I think we mentioned that earlier how lucky we are to have good linebackers. You know, we talked for, I think, the longest last night about Tate Barrett and Carter Ludwig. We went back and forth on those two for Defensive Player of the Year.
Absolutely.
All right, Offensive Player of the Year, the players in contention, Keegan Sword from South Central Calhoun, Michael Kasperbauer of Kemper, from the Arweva Rockets, Wyatt Regaler, and Evan Alt from Audubon. But the Player of the Year is that quarterback we talked about, Brock Bading of Kemper.
Yeah, it's amazing how special of a year he had, and I don't know if we can say a whole lot else about him than what we did here just a moment ago. But yeah, well deserving of that honor, and the fun thing for me and probably for Casey as well, he's just a sophomore. We've got a couple more years. I think Kemper fans going to be really happy with that too.
And he was thrown into the fire week 2 and still led all quarterbacks with passing touchdowns at 27 on the year so far. So it was a special year for a sophomore at quarterback.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk Coach of the Year. First of all, co-coaches at Arweva, what a huge step forward they made this year. Austin Stolk and Isaac Schaefers, Craig Lynch from Glidden Ralston, second year back, was it?
Second year back.
Okay. Sean Burks from Audubon, always getting great results down there. But the Coach of the Year, again, it was one that you kind of looked and went, yeah, got to be Ryan Steinkamp of the Kemper Knights.
Yeah, absolutely. And what a job he has done since kind of taking over that program. Didn't quite get to the quarterfinals last year, ran into a really good West Sioux team. This year they get to the quarterfinals. We'll see. They get number 1 ranked Central Line coming up on Friday night. But if there's a team that can go up and get them, I think this Kemper team has that ability to do it.
Yeah, that's going to be a fun time coming up on Friday night. And Jeff, you've got the call there. Kick 106.7 will be the place for that one. So I guess we got to do the trivia question here. Team with the most 20-point wins in this season. You said the Cowboys.
Yes.
And Casey, you said?
I said the Bills.
You said the Bills. Chalk one up for the sports director. The Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
4 of their 5 wins, I think, by over 20 points this season.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
They get blown out every now and then, but when they win, they seem to win big.
I enjoy the blowouts.
Me too.
I enjoy
Me too.
them. I love to see those guys humbled. So that is KCIM Sports Rewind. Enjoy the games coming up later on today. And if Brian Ferentz gets fired, you heard it here first, right? That's KCIM Sports Rewind.